some of you already know me, but some of you are meeting me for the first time. So I want to take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about myself and how I ended up on the Caribbean island of Nevis and why I do what I do. So I am originally a farm girl from rural Indiana. From a young age, I was adventurous and spiritually curious. I was also a little bit of a comedian, but I also struggled a lot internally. I dealt with anxiety and panic attacks, depression, attention issues, and a lot of physical symptoms that I now understand were connected to something more complicated and esoteric than what could easily be defined and diagnosed. As soon as I was old enough, I left home and I moved to New York City. I couldn't wait to be free to explore the world outside of what was familiar to me. And New York was probably the most opposite place that I could imagine at that time in my life. And I also had a very particular dream growing up, which was to work for my childhood hero, David Letterman. And I did end up doing that. And while I was living in New York City as a youngster, so late teens, early 20s, I was exposed to yoga and meditation and Eastern philosophy for the first time. And this was a huge catalyst in my life. Not only did it give some direction and some definition to this inner exploration that I was really attracted to, but it also gave me the tools to address the physical and the psychological issues that I had been struggling with. And of course, it didn't make all of my problems disappear. It still hasn't. But it gave me the tools to deal with this kind of internal chaos that I had been experiencing. And so then over the following years, I became a very earnest student of yoga and the healing arts, and also a teacher of yoga. And guided by these studies, and as well as my own experiences, I gradually have developed my own way of teaching people how to transcend their own internal whirlpool and to heal imbalances by developing an influence over the energetic body, as well as a way of discovering a deeper meaning and purpose to life by connecting to the wise old sage within that lives beyond all of that clutter and noise and congestion in life. And another big shift that New York City brought me was exposure to diversity. Because growing up in rural Indiana, New York was the first place that I ever really got the opportunity to connect with people from different cultures and different countries. And that cracked me wide open. And for the first time in my life, I started wondering and fantasizing about what was beyond the borders of where I was from. And so after spending some time saving money, I left on my first adventure outside of the US, which was a solo backpacking trip through the UK and Europe. And that was meant to last for 3 months, and it turned into a year and a half of living in hostels, working in pubs, that sort of lifestyle. And that experience changed everything. I didn't want that exploration to end. And so then over the following 15 years or so, I pretty much wanderlusted my way around the globe, studying and teaching yoga, exploring the healing arts, working in different industries, especially in the hospitality and tourism industries. Among other things, I lived in a van in Australia. I taught English to monks in the Himalayas. I swam with elephants on remote islands. And I also became a scuba diving instructor. I learned from some really wise teachers over the years, went through a lot of personal and spiritual growth along the way. And so this wasn't a mainstream vacation experience. This was a soul journey that inspired me to challenge the boundaries of my comfort and to immerse myself in the unfamiliar, to seek new perspectives, and ultimately to grow into somebody that I wouldn't have been able to had I stayed in my comfort zone and conformed to the life that was expected of me. So I really had this realization that travel has this incredible ability to interrupt our patterns, whatever they might be, and to wake us up and to reconnect us with who we really are. And so then, after many years of living this way, I felt drawn to stay in the tropics. I decided I really like being warm, but I also wanted to be closer to my family in the States. And so I found balance by accepting a scuba diving job in the Caribbean on the island of St. Kitts. And prior to that, I had never been to the Caribbean. I had never heard of the country, St. Kitts and Nevis, before. I put it into Google Maps that first time, and it did that kind of like, all the way to this little tiny dot in the middle of the ocean. And as soon as I saw that, I said, okay, that looks like my type of place. And so while I was working in St. Kitts, I met a Kittian Islander who's now my husband, Derek. And after about a year and a half in St. Kitts, we both found our way to Nevis, which is the smaller, quieter sister island of St. Kitts. And we decided that we really liked it in Nevis better. St. Kitts is a really nice island too, but it's bigger, it's more populated, it's more developed, it's more commercialized. And we were really attracted to the slower pace and the natural vibes in Nevis. And so here I am 12 years later. So looking back now, I can see that all of these experiences were quietly preparing me for what I do now, which is facilitating other people's soul journeys and helping them to slow down and heal and reconnect through a combination of conscious travel and inner exploration. And so that is the heart of what I do, to serve people who are kind of like me, who want depth and clarity and something more meaningful than the mainstream vacation. And also perhaps people who have had some of the same struggles as me, like anxiety and depression, attention issues, psychosomatic illnesses, and things like that. So just to be clear, on my retreat, you get to do all of the normal vacation stuff. You get to relax, you eat good food, you explore, you have fun. But it also offers something deeper and more lasting. So on the Back to Your Roots retreat, you get an opportunity to step off the beaten path and experience a new place and a new culture under the wings of trusted local hosts, rather than having that sheltered cookie cutter tourist experience. You also get space to gently address physical and energetic imbalances that might be affecting the way that you feel and the way that you move through your life. We spend time exploring practices that are designed to help you release tension, reset the nervous system, and to calm that internal whirlpool and to feel more at ease in your body. We also spend a lot of intentional time in nature, not just as like a superficial experience layered with noise and social chatter, but something deeply grounding and restorative, a real like soulful connection with the natural world. And through your days in Nevis, I am encouraging you to approach your experiences with mindfulness, which is simply the art of being present. And when we're fully present, we quiet that internal noise and time slows down. And everything that we do becomes more vivid, more meaningful, and more powerful. And when we're able to apply that same concentration of energy to the therapeutic practices that we do, then it triggers a powerful shift, not just in the way that you feel in the moment, but also in your understanding of how you can influence your continuing transformation that is occurring every moment of every day of your life. And when your vision becomes clear, you create the perfect conditions to reconnect with the vibrant, creative, wise old sage within, the part of you that knows what is needed for this next step in your journey. I like to call that your soul roots. So that is the heart of the Nevis Back to Your Roots retreat. So instead of escaping your life for a week and then returning home to the same patterns, the same pain, the same problems, you're actually shifting your condition and shifting your perspective. And you end up leaving not just feeling more relaxed, but with an elevated sense of awareness and purpose. And you return home as an enhanced version of yourself that's better prepared to respond to the challenges of life, with a clearer vision of what is needed in the next chapter of your journey. And that not only benefits you, but that benefits every person who comes in contact with you, honestly.